Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back. Justin here. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out today to talk about Barbarian. Before we get into that, if this is your first time here, again, my name is Justin. On this channel, we do movie news, reviews, rankings, trailer reactions, all that good stuff. If you're into the more nerdy stuff like toy collecting and physical media and all that type of stuff, I do have a second channel dedicated to just that. That's the Dead Couch. I will link that channel down below. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Barbarian. This movie is wild. Let's get into it. In town for a job interview, a young woman arrives at her Airbnb late at night only to find that her rental has been mistakenly double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to stay the night anyway, but soon discovers that there is much more to be afraid of in the house than that other house guest. So guys, I'm not gonna bury the lead here. We're just gonna get right into it. Barbarian is a must-see, and actually I would highly suggest, if you can, go and watch this with the crowd, because this is definitely a movie that you want that theatrical experience for. Barbarian is extremely bold and confident first-time feature from director Zach Clegger. Some of you may already be familiar with Zach through his work with The Whitest Kids You Know. This was a comedy troupe that was pretty popular back in the day. They had a couple movies out. Zach was a co-founding member of The Whitest Kids You Know, along with Trevor Moore, who sadly passed away last year. It was a really sad deal, but from the ashes of that tragedy comes quite a triumph with this brilliant feature film debut from Zach Clegger. But as far as this being a first feature film from a director, a debut, you'd never know. Everything about this movie is done so well, from the creative camera work, this really tense score, the casting is great, the atmosphere is really wrought with tension. This film really feels alive in a lot of ways we don't often see from big studio films, especially from a studio like Disney. Although the main premise and some of the themes in this movie aren't entirely original, it's the unconventional structure and the overall execution that makes this movie stand out from all the other garbage that's thrown at us from month to month, especially in the horror genre. In recent years, there's been a number of these comedic actors and comedy directors that have attacked horror in a way that comes from a different angle and that doesn't view horror through the lens of traditional tropes, storylines, and by passing up conventions of modern horror have created their own unique vision. In recent years, I'm thinking Jordan Peele and even Kevin Smith with movies like Tusk and Red State. That line between comedy and horror is oftentimes a lot thinner than I think we might notice, but both rely heavily on the unexpected outcome and misdirect, and this film is full of misdirection. For Barbarian, thankfully, the trailer doesn't give away any of the big surprises that make this movie so shocking and memorable. This movie gave me a lot of the same, like, what the hell is happening excitement that Malignant did a few months ago when I watched it. I was just so taken back by this movie being something so utterly and completely far from my expectations. The movie sets us up in the first act primarily with just these two characters, and you know at some point the shit is gonna hit the fan, but you just can't pin down who or what this threat is gonna be. But then right when the movie does start to show us what's going on, the film starts to reveal itself, bam, the movie completely shifts gears. We begin what seems like a completely different movie. The film actually does this a couple different times, but these new chapters weave seamlessly right back into our main story, and then we start to get the who, what, where, why, and it is such a blast. That all being said, I do want to touch on a couple things that did bother me a little bit. I really can't do this without going into spoilers, so at this point, these are the timestamps. We're going to enter some spoilers here, so I just want you to be fully aware. Spoilers ahead. The way this movie sets up and the way the trailer brilliantly sets up the fact that you initially think that Bill Skarsgard's character is going to be the villain of this movie, which of course he's not. It's this weird inbred breastfeeding mother demon thing that's in the basement, this Hills Have Eyes type creature, which we'll get into in a second. Tess finds out after getting locked in the basement, and she starts exploring that there's many depths in the basement and the underground area of this house, which she freaks out. She tells Bill Skarsgard about it. Of course, he goes down and starts checking it out, and you think that he's just going to lure her into this basement, and of course that's the big heel turn of the movie, that he's not the threat, which I did really like. But what really pissed me off, the first thing as I'm rolling along with all of this great suspense, and I am in it, I am really in it. The first thing that took me out of this movie is when Tess goes back to search for Bill Skarsgard after he sort of disappears into the void of this basement. When she continues to go deeper and deeper and deeper down into this thing, I was thinking, there is no fucking way that this girl would continue to go down in this basement. That really, really bothered me, and it bummed me out because up until that point, I was all in. Now, it didn't ruin the movie for me by any means, but it definitely took me out. I wish there was something else that led her back in that basement or some other motivation other than trying to find this guy she literally just met a few hours ago. I watched a couple interviews with the director, and he did bring this up because I'm not the first person to think this, and he justified it's not what you would do or what I would do, it's what I thought this character would do. He thought that in her nature, Tessa's good nature, that she just would have been sort of vulnerable, not knowing that she's in a horror movie, and she would have tried to help him out, not knowing what the threat was. It leads for a good moment of Bill Skarsgard kind of getting his head smashed, but it really did take me out of the movie. And the other thing that didn't really take me out, that just sort of struck me as a little bit unoriginal and a little bit cliche, is the whole creature design and the idea of this inbred sort of cannibal monster. He looks she looks very similar to like the Wrong Turn, Hills Have Eyes, Victor Crowley type of character design that we've seen a bunch. So when this character was revealed, it really wasn't that. It was shocking because you find out that this person is dwelling underneath the house, but as far as the design, I wish it would have been something a little bit more original, and not to mention that you do find out that this is just a human. It's just a person. But at the same time, this person does seem to have like superhuman strength. She's ripping human arms off like pretty effortlessly. She manages to overpower Bill Skarsgard, who stands at like 6'5". So that part was a little unrealistic. I think it was just trying to go for an over-the-top thing, and I get that, but those were a couple moments that did take me out. I also still don't know how I feel about Justin Long just throwing Tess off that water tower. I guess the problem is they set Justin Long up to be kind of, he might be kind of a shitty guy, but I don't know if they set him up to be expected to be such an evil guy that he's literally gonna throw somebody off a water tower. Although it was an unexpected kind of shocking moment when he throws her off the water tower, it felt a little bit out of left field, and I'm not quite sure that character turn was earned. I don't know if that makes sense. Just a thought that I had. But overall, we're done with spoilers now, and we can just kind of wrap this up with my overall thoughts. This is an absolute must-see, and I gotta give Zach Clegger major kudos for, like James Wan did earlier this year or last year or whenever it was, really taking huge swings and doing something unconventional. Although the premise and the setup and the villain wasn't completely original, the execution shows a lot of promise for this director to be attacking horror in a very original way. So the premise may not be that original, but the execution was wholly original and made for a very tense, exciting movie. It really felt great to go see this movie in a theater, and I would definitely suggest seeing this one in theater. It's a much better, it's gonna be a much better experience. Don't wait for this one. Support movies like this. Please support movies like this, original horror. So guys, I think that's it. Let me know your thoughts on Barbarian down in the comments below, but I think we're done here. Stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Whose baby is this?
She's my real baby, Grandma. I named her Katie. I'm sending out the birth announcements right now.
She's a doll. Everything about her seems so
We just got the news.
Can I hold her?
Be careful. She's my real baby.
She feels like a real baby. Real baby.
You're my sleepy real baby, and I love you.
Real Baby and Sleepy Real Baby each comes with 5 birth announcements from Hasbro.